So I'm going to go straight into school-based anxiety, or EBSA. So emotionally based school avoidance. You'll see shortly that just because the term EBSA includes school avoidance, that doesn't mean that those children who are attending school but not enjoying it, or they're feeling anxious, are not covered by the term. They absolutely are covered by the term. So when I talk about EBSA from now on, I'm talking about school-based anxiety as well. It's interchangeable for the purpose of this session. So also to clarify, before we go any further, EBSA is not a diagnosis, it's a description. So although someone might talk about a child suffering with EBSA, it's not something that can be officially diagnosed. Again, that's not the aim of tonight, is not to kind of, diagnose your young person from a distance. It's more about just seeing their behaviors as a group of behaviors and thinking about what might be able to do to help. So in terms of what it is, it's a broad umbrella term that describes a group of children and young people who experience significant and enduring challenges in attending school due to emotional factors. Now, those emotional factors tend to often be fear and anxiety. And this can result in persistent or prolonged absences from school. It doesn't always, though, as we'll see now. Some young people will be attending school consistently and still be experiencing EBSA. And these children are likely to be experiencing all of the similar anxieties around attending school as part of their EBSA, but perhaps due to a high level of support offered by the school, or a really good home to school transition package, or the provision of protective factors, their resilience to maintain their school attendance has been retained. So yeah, there's something there about them. They're still experiencing all of those difficulties and those anxieties, but something or a group of things or lots of factors are still around that mean that they're able to maintain their school attendance. I myself tend to I find it helpful to view EBSA as a bit of a spectrum of needs with varying degrees of severity. So as such, we need to recognise a child's EBSA needs regardless of their current attendance status, particularly as there's the potential for EBSA to become more chronic and persistent, or for historical EBSA to re-emerge following a change in circumstances, or the support that has been offered to the child. So again, that's why on the screen, hopefully what you can see is sort of children can be attending school consistently and still be experiencing EBSA. We need to recognise that a child's EBSA, we need to recognise their EBSA needs regardless of their current attendance status. Okay. So each child's experience of EBSA is going to be completely unique to them. And that's also one of the reasons why when we go to questions later, it's going to be really difficult to answer some of your questions, because it's just so different for every single child or young person. Rarely is there a single cause or a sort of simple one-size-fits-all solution. However, though, one of the commonalities that we do see is that significant role that anxiety seems to play. And anxiety then could be considered to be one of the defining features of EBSA, which is why we're sort of focusing on anxiety today. For some young people, they might sort of directly experience this anxiety, and they might be able to share some of those fears about school to others. They might be able to pinpoint specific worries about school, share these with a parent or carer, or a trusted adult at school. So yeah, they might be able to pinpoint, some might be able to pinpoint specific worries about school and share those with the relevant people, whether that be you or whether it be a trusted adult in school. And that's more common though with those who have a greater sort of breadth of emotion vocabulary and an awareness of their emotions. For other children and young people, their coping style might be to externalize. So communicating their distress through behaviors that can be really challenging, such as aggression if they're faced with the prospect of attending school, even sometimes turning to hostile behaviors as a means to control or avoid what they perceive to be a threatening situation. And as with any challenging behavior, and like we've already been speaking about today, it's an expression of distress and an unmet need. So in terms of when we're thinking about what they're communicating, that's what they're communicating. I've got an unmet need and that I need support with. For others still, it might only be felt at a physiological level through what we call psychosomatic symptoms of anxiety. So the headaches, the tummy aches, the feeling of dread with little more awareness of any kind of specific thoughts and feelings. So the child might not even realize that the tummy aches or the headaches are actually symptoms of anxiety. And instead, they might believe themselves to be genuinely unwell. what research says is that children who experience EBSA of all ages often report a wide range of co-occurring psychosomatic symptoms. So things like a tight or dry throat, heart racing, sweaty hands, tense muscles, all of those sorts of things. And there is some research that suggests that actually it's even as high as 80% of people who experience anxiety feel it in their body. These psychosomatic symptoms can be the first early warning signs of EBSA. So those who are often in the medical room, for example, and I suppose that kind of brings me back to my previous point about needing to be thinking about those children who are attending school but are experiencing EBSA still. So I'm thinking about children who really struggle coming into the school in the morning, who might find it difficult to separate from you, or who often complain of those frequent tummy aches in an attempt to stay home or maybe to be sent home once they're already at school. Often those tummy aches really feel genuine and real to the child because they're misinterpreting the cues of anxiety to mean that they're actually physically unwell. It is, however, not unusual for the young person to recover relatively quickly from those initial upsets of the morning once they're in school. And what that often does is it can cause school staff, it can cause you as parents, I would imagine, and also professionals to question the legitimacy of that EBSA. But actually, it's really important that we hold in mind models of anxiety here, which we're going to go through later, because it's not unusual for anxiety to quickly disappear once the perceived threat has been removed or overcome. So that tummy ache might quickly disappear once you agree to keep the child at home, or the child faces that fear, goes into school and realizes that it's actually not as bad as they thought it was going to be, and they relax and settle into the school day.